Hey guys, this is Gary, and this video is about focusing, specifically a technique known as single point autofocus or selective autofocus. And this is mostly for beginners. The reason why I want to show you this technique is because it's both easy and very effective. So this would hopefully become the way that you focus from now on. So a couple things. I'm going to assume that you have the standard kit lens, which is an 18 to 55 millimeter lens. I recommend that you shoot at 55 millimeters and set your camera to program mode. That would be P on the mode dial for those of you that have never shot anything but auto mode. Program mode is just like auto mode. You don't have to worry about exposure, but program mode releases focusing to our control, which is good for this particular exercise. So this is something that you can do at home. It's, basically you're just going to take two objects and you're going to set them up such that the front object is 12 inches in front of the rear object and the rear object is roughly 3 inches to the side. In general, make sure that your lens barrel is set to autofocus, AF or A, and when you push the shutter button halfway down, several things happen, one of which is your camera and the lens will autofocus. And you'll hear a beep and your LED, your autofocus point, let me just double check, will temporarily flash. When you hear that beep and you see that LED flash, then you've got focus. Okay, so if you have a Nikon D40 and I think the D60, which are both relatively old cameras, you only have 3 focusing zones. You actually don't have a lot of different focus points that you can dial in. Also, if you're a Nikon shooter, you need to set your camera, take it out of what's known as auto area AF and put it into either single area AF, or I think it's called single point AF, or dynamic area AF will also work. So consult your manuals for you Nikon shooters, because this technique won't work if your camera is set to auto area AF, because it doesn't give you access to choosing the different autofocus points around the frame. Now if you're a Canon shooter, all Canon cameras have a button, the upper right hand corner. If you push that button, that activates the autofocusing LED, and you can, while looking through the viewfinder, if you take your shutter wheel, which is right behind your shutter button, put your finger on your shutter wheel, look through the viewfinder, after you hit that button with your thumb, you'll see that you can move that red LED. It's either going to be a red dot or a red square. You're going to be able to move that around inside the viewfinder. Now, if you've got a newer Canon camera, and by that I mean, say, the 5D Mark III or the 7D Mark II or the 7D or the 70D, your focusing systems is a little different. And again, consult your manuals. The idea is you want to set your cameras to have a single focus point that you can then selectively move around inside the viewfinder. All right, so the idea is you shoot, focus on the front object. So the first shot, you're going to set your focus point to the center of the frame, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that only my center focus point is lit, and then I'm going to focus on Ken, and then take the shot. Okay, next shot, I'm going to dial in my focus point all the way to the right, and then I'm going to slightly shift my camera to the left. So Ken is now on the right of my frame, and I've set my focus point right on his face. Okay, so I'm now focusing on Ken while he's on the right side of the frame, and I'll take that shot. Okay, now I'm going to dial in the bottom focus point, and I'm going to focus on Ken and slightly shift my camera up so he's in the center of the frame but at the bottom of the frame. So now my focus point is also at the bottom of the frame. So I'm going to focus on Ken, take that shot. Now I'm going to dial in the upper focus point and slightly angle my camera down so Ken's head is at the top of the frame and so is my focus point. So focus and take that shot. And now lastly, I'm going to dial in my left focus point all the way to the left of the frame. So now I'm going to shift my camera slightly to the right so Ken's head is to the left of the frame. But when I do that, Barbie goes outside the frame. So I have to take her and move her to the right, like so. Now I focus on Ken and take that shot. Okay, so now you may have noticed that Barbie is very soft. She's very out of focus. That's because I have a lens that allows for a wide latitude and depth of field. If you're using the kit lens that came with your camera, you're not going to see the same dramatic difference between the sharp object in front and the rear object going very, very out of focus. You won't see as dramatic a difference. You will still see a difference. So, all right, so a couple other suggestions. Try and do this in a very brightly lit room for reasons that will become clear as you get a little more understanding of exposure. All right, so if you want to take this a little farther, you can do something like this. And again, you're not going to see the same dramatic results that I'm getting because if you have a kit lens, but you will see a difference. So I've got Barbie here, going to have her laying down, and she's at a diagonal. So I'm going to take 3 shots. I'm going to focus on her head for the first shot, then focus on her waist for the second shot, focus on her boot for the third shot. So here I go. So, and I'm going to use a different technique. This is called center focus recompose. Okay, so I'm going to keep my focus point in the center of the frame. So let me set that up. Okay, so now what's going to happen is Barbie's head is going to be to the left of the frame. So I'm not going to dial in the left focus point, although I could. I'm just going to leave my focus point in the center. So I'm going to angle my camera such that her head is in the center of the frame, lock in my focus by holding the shutter button halfway down, and then move my camera to the right so her head is now to the left of the frame and take the shot. That's called center focus recompose. So that's the technique you're going to use for these 3 shots. Okay, first shot, center focus, recompose. Now second shot, I'm just going to leave it in the center, focus on the waist. Third shot, center focus on the boot, recompose, so she's back in the, the same orientation as the previous shots, and take that shot. Okay, so quickly going through these images, they should have come up on the screen for you. You can see that the focus point shifts head, waist, boot. What's going on here is you're actually changing your focusing distance because the head is closer to the camera than the boot. So this is important because what's happening when you establish a focusing distance, you're also establishing the location of your depth of field. Okay, that's it for now. Try this at home, and practice, because the thing is, this focusing technique is something you will use a lot, okay? So I hope you found this helpful. I will see you guys next time. Now you go make something. Bye.